you witnessed the very, very proud moment for us, that is soft landing of Chandrayaan 3? Just put it in a chat box. And how many of you witnessed that? Yes, Shloka, even before the session happening, like after finishing my 5 o'clock session, I was just on my chair and I was literally getting goosebumps when they were explaining about how much distance they have covered and all those things. So it was really, really proud moment for all of us, the Chandrayaan 3. And yes, so before we go ahead, I am still in that zone only. Okay. So I think there are few new guys here, or maybe they were not there yesterday, but they are today here. Don't worry, guys. As my colleague Sanya told you, you're not going to miss out on any session because you will be getting your handouts. So without any further delay, today we are going to talk about the next topic, and this topic is about falls or comes after our listening part, what we did earlier in our last class. So before I go ahead, let me share my screen here. Okay, oh, just a minute. Okay, I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Okay, thank you so much. So today we are going to talk about, so we are week one and third session today. This is reading and writing. So as we did yesterday, we are going to follow the same method where we will be talking and covering up few types of question, maybe one or two types of question. Usually we cover two types of question in every session where you get the key points, the strategies, and other input how to answer this question or how to face this kind of questions. Okay, and along with this, we also do the practice part. So let's begin with this. So today we are going to cover write about the photo. Okay, now this is kind of a you have to explain, you have to describe that particular image for a minute or so. Now, this kind of question appears 3 times in your test, and the time is given 1 minute. Now, this particular type of question we are covering at the end, and we are going to cover summarize the conversation before, because this particular question appears after your listening and response. So, yesterday we did the listen and respond, right? So we heard some audio, we have gone through certain statements and all, and based on that, we respond to those. Okay. So this particular question comes after the listen and respond type of question. So we are going to cover this, summarize the conversation first, and then we are going to talk about describing the image. Now, summarize the conversation. This type of question appears twice, and you get 75 seconds for this. Moving ahead, now, how does it look like? What are the strategies? What are the key points that you need to follow to make your conversation or choose the best option? So, we are going to check out that. Okay. Now, how it likes, like summarize the conversation you just had in 75 seconds. So the conversation is not too big. Okay. So there will be a certain statement given and you have to complete that statement. Okay. So as I said yesterday also, the Duolingo is very, very easy compared to IELTS. Okay, so it doesn't mean that I'm promoting Duolingo and not giving preference to IELTS. It is not like that. It is the when it comes to the type of questions. Okay, so it is very easy. Fine. Now, this particular question appears immediately after interactive listening. You have 75 seconds to summarize the conversation. You have to read the conversation before you write. No need to take notes because it is very easy. You can easily answer them. Okay, this contributes to your literacy and production sub courses, sub scores. Now, scores scored based on the production. sub-score criteria. Okay. Now, what are the tips that you need to follow here? Use all the usual best practices for writing. Don't worry if you didn't choose the correct answer. Any which ways you will get to know in the previous section, so you can use that continuation and choose the best option for that. Focus on the new task and don't have, because you don't have that much time. Okay, so you can immediately start with your summary part. It is really easy, and we are going to do practice. Now, what are the strategies that you need to follow? So, before you finish the listening part, read the situation carefully. So, there will be a scenario given. Okay. So, you can write your first and second sentences based on the situation. Now, let's check out the scenario here. So, you are a student in journalism class. After today's lecture on reporting, you approach your professor to ask them more about what it means to cultivate sources. Now, here, while you're summarizing something, okay, so you do not have to copy exact thing. Yeah, so you can paraphrase it in your own words, okay, but make sure you are maintaining that formal touch of your conversation or to your statement. Okay, so it should not be a casual one. So yesterday, students, those who were there, so we also understood like what are the kind of conversation. So whether it is casual or whether it is informal, when it comes to student, friend to friend, then it is a casual. When it comes to student having a conversation with professor, so it's a professional formal conversation. So just be careful about that. Now, this is a scenario which is there in front of your screen. Now, how you can summarize this particular statement? Now, this is you're talking about. So, the scenario is given to you, that is, you are a student. Okay. Now, when you're summarizing that, so you have to address yourself. So, I asked my professor a question after class today. I asked them to explain the concept of cultivating sources as a reporter. Okay. Now, if you see the earlier scenario and the summary which we have written here, or the what we have summarized here, it gives you the similar meaning, but we are not using the same statement here. We are just paraphrasing it in our own words. So this is a very simple, you don't get a big conversation or topic here to summarize. Okay. So I hope this is clear to you. Very simple. The scenario is given to you and you have to summarize that. Okay. Now study some opening phrases. Now when it comes to when you are summarizing something, so there are certain phrases you can use. Now you have to be careful like active voice. Now student get confused what is active voice and passive voice. Okay. So simple thing is that when it comes to active voice, the subject is important. Okay. And there are certain changes we do or we reframe our sentence. Okay. And when we make a passive voice, so we change our noun into the different form. So I changes into me, he changes into him, etc. And the verb form changes into past participle. Okay, so here we are not talking about the passive voice, active voice. Now, what is active voice here? So just to give you just information about the active voice is something what we usually speak using our tenses structure. Okay. Now, first person, so you can use I here. Now, while doing that, write full paragraphs and not bullet points. So you don't have to put a bullet points for conversation. So it should look like a conversation. Okay. Now let's follow the simple structure here. Okay. Just check it out. Who did you talk to and what about? Okay. So there are certain opening phrases that we are going to talk here. So who did you talk? Okay. So I had a conversation with my professor or my friend about so and so. During a meeting with my dash, we discussed dash. I and my professor had a discussion on so and so during a conversation. So if you see, everywhere we have just used different opening phrases here. So in the first sentence, we say, I had a conversation with my professor. In the second sentence statement, we are saying, I and my professor had a discussion. Okay. So conversation, discussion. Okay. So during a conversation with my so and so, yeah, my friend, classmate, professor, and I talked about. Yeah, I and my professor discussed on. So these are the certain phrases or these are the certain beginning sentences you can use with whom you are talking. Yeah. Now when it comes to sharing the idea, so let's go one step ahead here. So more detail, what were the ideas? So my professor suggested that. Okay, so you can use my professor suggested that, we discussed about, we agreed upon, or we agreed on certain part or certain topic. He or she informed me that so and so. So these are the opening phrases you can always use while summarizing your conversation. Don't worry, we have an example here, and then we are going to do one practice session. So this is just an idea. See now, there are another ways also, or maybe there are another ways to write your opening phrase also. We cannot mention all of here. So we just for an example, we have mentioned few, which will give you just about it or how you can start your conversation with. Okay. Now follow the simple structure. The outcome, what did you say you were going to do? Okay, now there are certain questions you can say, you can check out. So when it comes to question, so what we are you are going to do that. So we agreed on, or I agreed on. So I agreed with my professor and said that so and so. So we planned on certain things. We concluded our discussion by mentioning so and so, or we decided to work on. So there are certain phrases you can use to summarize your conversation. Okay, now this is a template here. I had a conversation with my professor or my friend about so and so. My professor suggested that, we discussed that, and we decided. Okay, now here is the scenario. Yeah? So you are a student who is struggling to balance your extracurricular activities with your schoolwork. You have a meeting with your professor to discuss how you can better manage your time. So, can we come up with some certain suggestions here? Okay, so let's talk about the three parts here. Okay, so let's start with this. So, who did you talk and about what? Okay, so you can use any opening phrase here. You can give some more ideas or more detail about it, what you suggested, what you discussed, and then you can talk about what did you agree upon. Okay, so yeah, let's check on this. Let's do this. Okay, so you can put it here. It doesn't matter whether you get it right or wrong. Just write out. It is just a scenario. We are doing it as a practice. So if you can come up with certain beginning phrases or maybe what you discussed about and all, and then we'll check it out. If anyone can come forward and put it in chat box, please. Anyone? Okay. So I don't think there is anyone coming forward. So doesn't matter. So this is the conversation. So you, Professor, I was hoping to talk to you about managing my time better. So this is a conversation not based on this. You are struggling with this, okay? So managing my time better. So what professor is giving you suggestion? Of course, what seems to be the issue? I'm involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. I'm finding it tough to balance everything with all my coursework. Do you have any advice on how I can manage my time better? So you're asking for the suggestion from your professor. So professor is giving, oh, I understand. What are some of the activities that are taking up most of your time? I'm heavily involved in the campus clubs for debates and journalism, and I'm also on the club soccer team. Okay, have you considered cutting back on some of these activities? You, as a student or as a young, I have, but they are all really important to me. So I'm trying to find out a way balance them all while still keeping up with my schoolwork. Now, what professor is suggesting? Have you tried creating a schedule to manage your time better? Yeah, I have, but I'm having a hard time sticking to it. Do you have better suggestion? It might be helpful to start with smaller schedule and build up from there. Also try to be realistic with the time you have and what you can accomplish. And don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Okay, thank you for your suggestion. I will try to implement those and hopefully see some improvement. So if you see here, we have used certain phrases here to continue our conversation. So this is how you can summarize your conversation. Okay, fine. So so here is the template what we checked earlier. So I had a conversation with my professor and my friend. So how can I better manage my time? I find it hard to balance and all. So in this way you can check. Okay. So this is how you have summarized that conversation, what we read here. Okay. So what we read here, so this is the summary. I had a conversation with my professor about how I can manage my time. I find it hard to balance all my extracurricular activities with my coursework. My professor suggested that I should try to cut back on some of them. We discuss how to manage time better, starting with a smaller schedule and building upon from there. Additionally, we decided that I should be realistic with the time I have and not be afraid to ask for help when I need it. So if you see here, this is a very little bit a big paragraph or the conversation. Okay. So this whole conversation we summarized into very few sentences, at the most 4 or 5 sentences. Okay. Or you can mention it in a different way. I had a conversation with my professor about how can I better manage my time. My professor suggested that should try to cut back on some of them. Additionally, we decided that I should be realistic with the time. I have not be afraid to ask for help when I need it. See here when you are summarizing it, follow certain ideas or take out certain key points or sub points. Now, what is it? The main idea is managing time. Okay, then professor is what suggestion giving. Then also the suggestion cutting down on certain extracurricular activities, making some timetable, and also following it. And even the professor asked him to not to hesitate to come forward and ask any help is needed. So these are the certain key points you have to remember for this conversation. Now these key points once you have, you can eliminate all other information, and keeping these key points in mind, you can reframe these sentences or you can paraphrase these sentences by cutting down or by eliminating few sentences which are not required. Okay, so this is how you can. So when we say summarizing something, so summarizing is something usually whatever the sentences you have or whatever time you speak. Let's say you are speaking for the 30 minutes of your conversation or your speech is. So summarizing it, you can always make it into 5 minutes. Okay, so it should be 5% of what time you are giving for your speech. So make sure that you are summarizing. So no need to. So when it comes to the conversation, follow the key points and then pick up those key points, important key points, and taking those key points into the consideration and make your summary. So this is very easy. Okay, fine. Okay, so this is how, but any which ways, I gave you this summary because we are running out of time. Okay, so you will have practice sessions also. Now, this is where we are going to do the activity here, and I want active participation in this. This is very easy task. Okay, now how it is. Now, for this particular question, you get approximately 1 minute. So you have to write a description of the image below for 1 minute. Now, whatever you notice, okay, don't feel sharing any information. Maybe you can say the child's pullover color is pink, even the pillow is matching with the pullover, etc. The small, I think that's a doll beside her. Okay. So whatever small thing you observe, you have to write it down and you have to describe the image. So you have to put your response here and then you have to click the next button. Okay. Now this is what are the key points. So you have only 1 minute to complete this. Must write at least one sentences. If you can write more sentences, that is again good for you. Write in full and complete sentences. This question might repeat 3-4 times. Do not use the same introductory statements multiple times. Okay, so every time keep changing the way of your saying, keep changing the phrases, keep changing the vocabulary. Make sure your the sentence gives the same meaning. Now, what are the tips? Learn introductory statement, memorize these statements, and practice typing them out quickly. Be descriptive. As I said, you can describe this image. Make a guess or prediction. Now, certain times you can always make the prediction also. Check out on your spelling and punctuation. Leave time to check for errors. So just check it out whether is there any error you have, I mean, is there any error or if you want to reframe your statement, etc. So keep some time for that. Okay. Now, how the scoring happens to answer this are open responses, the correctness of your grammar, so grammatical accuracy, your variety and level of grammar, how you are using your sentences, your lexical resource. So, lexical resource is nothing but your vocabulary, what you are using, variety of choices, the word choice that you use. So, for this particular, you should know your vocabulary should be good, okay, or there should be your word bank should be good. You should know how to answer or describe. So here your creativity comes in. Okay, so we talk about the task achievement, coherence, and cohesion, etc. Okay, again your pronunciation and pace. So these are on this basis your scoring happens. Okay. Now this is the task for you guys. I don't know how many participants are there. This is the image, okay, where you have to describe this image. So kindly put your description in a chat box quickly. Please come forward and describe this image and whatever you feel, whatever you notice, whatever you observe, please put it in chat box. So I'm giving you 1 minute here. Yesterday's participants are there today. We had a very yesterday's participant, they were responding and we had a nice interaction. Please don't feel shy or hesitate whether it is right, wrong. Nobody is judging you here. Okay. A girl who is going to buy the vegetables in that street. We cannot see what vegetables are in that because it was blurry. Okay, fine. Well done. Anyone else? Yeah. So this is the picture in the market. A person is looking down towards the pineapples. She is thinking to buy or not. Okay, very good observation. Oh, Sheikh Farshad, you were there yesterday. Yes. Okay, so let's check out about this image. Okay. Now see, when it comes to this image, so you can use the statement. Now this picture, this is a picture of whatever it is. This is a picture of, you can say supermarket, vegetable market, fruit market, mall, street, etc. This image depicts, this picture shows, in this photograph, there is or there are. So you can use these statements, introductory statements, to give your introduction or to start your description. Okay. Now, how you can do that? So, okay, so statement one, this is a picture of a woman shopping in a supermarket. Okay, now you have to write one statement, but as we said, the more you write, it is good for your scoring. Okay, so which will give you uh, added advantage to score more. So try to give more information. So there is nothing like when it comes to IELTS, you have a time limit for writing, sorry, word limit or word count limit. So nothing like that. But yes, you have very limited time. So in that limited time, you have to at least you can write two or three sentences which comes in your mind. Make sure you are using certain phrases. So this image shows a woman shopping for a fruit in a supermarket. Okay, so this is the statement one. Now we are describing. Now write about the action of the person or main subject in the image. Use action verbs and adverbs. Describe the object or people. Use adjectives. Write about the location of things in the image. Use prepositional phrases. Okay. So you have already mentioned here, you have described that image completely. Okay. So you have already mentioned, described, you have already described the objects. You put it there like fruit, vegetables, etc. She is in a market, supermarket, thinking whether to buy it or not. So you have already described it. Okay. Now, what are the prepositional phrases? So, preposition is a word which shows the position. Very simple. Okay. Now, you can always use this prepositional phrases to show the direction or to show the position. Okay. So, there are few we have mentioned here which will help you to write or to make your description more elaborative and more clear. So on the top of, above, at the top, to the left, to the right, to the center, in the middle, in the corner, at the bottom, under, beneath, underneath, below, etc. So here is the chart given to understand, like to the left, to the right. Okay. So we are spoon feeding you actually, right? So I mean, sometimes I believe, arey, these are not kindergarten KG students. So we are showing at the top, okay, so where it is at the top, in the center, in the middle, in the corner, at the bottom, okay. So we are trying to spoon feed you and to help you out, okay, so to make achieve your desired scores. Now there are certain additional phrases you can use. So whatever you see in that picture, okay, so in the background, foreground, in front of, directly opposite, exactly in the middle of, roughly in the middle of, in close proximity to, just above or parallel to. So these are the additional phrases you can always use to describe that image. Okay. Now coming to the same image again. Okay. So let's check out by using this prepositional phrases, additional phrases, and how we can describe it in a better way. Guys, you tried well. Okay. So what I'm trying to give you here is a better version of it. It doesn't mean whatever you have mentioned is wrong here. Okay. Just to correct you. So you will understand how to be more descriptive. Okay. So, yeah, this is a picture of a young woman shopping for fruit in the supermarket. She is looking down at the large pile of ripe pineapples to her left and thinking hard about whether to buy one or not. So, this is what we are describing this image. Now, you are predicting here. So, when you are doing some prediction, you are doing some guesswork whether whether she's thinking to buy it or not. So, it seems like, it looks like, I guess that, I think. You can use the modal verbs here. So, modal verbs are certain verbs which talks about the different ideas. They express different expressions. So might, may, must, could. So might, may talk about the possibility, but when it comes to may talk about the higher possibility, might talk about the weaker possibility. So might we can also use for hypothetical situation. Must we use when it comes to 100% certain. Again, can and could also be used to talk about the possibility, but can talk about the higher possibility and could talk about the weaker possibility, or can suggest stronger possibility, same like may, and could talk about the weaker possibility. Okay, so these are the modal verbs you can use. So there are total 25 modal verbs. Yeah? So you should know the grammar part also while doing this. Now note, you get no extra marks for making a right prediction or an interesting prediction. Okay, so now coming up with all, so we started with one statement talking about the image. Then we describe that image. Okay, what is that? We check all the observation, we observe that image, and third that we made prediction or we guess the situation. Okay, so let's check out now the what prediction we are doing here, what we are guessing here. It seems that she is going to buy one of the pineapples. I guess she won't buy a pineapple this time. I think she is having a hard time choosing the best pineapple to buy, probably because if you see, there are many pineapples here, pile of pineapples, so she may be confused which one to buy, okay, or which one is good, the sweeter one. So you can use your prediction phrases. Sorry, you have to make the guess here. Okay. Now here again, you can always start with the capital letter. What punctuation we follow here. Always end a statement with full stop, question mark, exclamation mark, etc. Use comma to separate series. Okay, three or more nouns, adjective, on verb. So you know when you're talking about the action, we use verb. Adjective we use to describe and modify our noun and pronoun. Okay. Now here you can use the conjunctions also. So fanboys, it is an acronym. So fanboys is not a conjunction here, but there are certain like for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. So we have taken the first letter of each conjunction and we have made a new word that is fanboys, same like a ISRO, right? So we have taken the first letter of each word and we have created a new word that is ISRO. So that is called as a acronym. Now here when it comes to the conjunctions, there are three types of conjunctions: coordinating conjunctions, correlating conjunctions, and subordinating conjunctions. So we are not going detail into that, okay? But you can use appropriate conjunctions here. So whenever it comes to the grammar part, I'm giving you the tip also, which will help you to understand write better. Like as I said, may, might, what is the difference? Can, could, what is the difference? So may talks about the stronger possibility, might we use for hypothetical situation, can again talk about the stronger, could weaker, and must be used when it comes to the certain, we are 100% sure about it. So whenever it comes to the grammar part, I will definitely give you certain tips which will help you to clear your basics also. Now these are used to connect words. So when it comes to conjunctions, yes, conjunctions are also called as joining words. So conjunction joins two words, two phrases, two clauses, etc. Now put a comma before the fanboys. So fanboys means the conjunctions here when they are connecting two independent clauses. Now, what is that? What is the sorry, when we use coordinating conjunctions, when the two statements are independent, they are not dependent on anyone. So, when it comes to subordinating conjunctions, where the one statement is independent and other statement is dependent, and correlating conjunctions are something which comes hand in hand. Okay, so for example, unless and until, uh, then you can say unless and until, either or, neither nor, etc. So these are certain correlating conjunction which comes in hand. Independent clauses usually have their own subject. So these sentences give you clear meaning. Okay. So these are independent. Now clauses is nothing. Don't get confused with the clause word. So clause is nothing but the statement. Okay. Or a sentence. So if you see in legal terms, okay, so they mention in that paper. So clause number so and so. Even when it comes to the certain rules and regulations, or if you're making some MOM. Okay, so not minutes of the meeting, memorandum of, yeah, I forgot that. So there also we mentioned clause number so and so. Okay, so coming back, now you have some time to check your errors. Fine. Now, this is the final answer we are coming up with. This is a picture of a young woman shopping in a supermarket. She is looking down at a large pile of ripe pineapples at her to her left. So we use here the preposition left direction and thinking hard about whether to buy one or not. She might be having a hard time making up her mind. Okay, so this is our answer. Now this activity is for you. It is 7:15 now. So let's do that. I would not say, I mean, you can describe everything. Okay, so starting from the describing image, talking about what is the image is about, describing image and your guesswork. So let's do it quickly. Okay. Okay, those the one who have just joined for them just to uh, give you that you have to describe this image and you have to talk about the introductory statement. You have to describe that and also you have to predict or you have to do the guesswork. Okay, kindly put it in chat box. Anyone? So give introduction. You can use introductory phrases. Yes. Dikshit, Mani Dikshit. Okay. In this picture, a professor is explaining the class about the sun and temperature to the student. Okay. This image depicts that a teacher presenting a presentation in front of students. Okay, this is the introduction you are giving. Okay, now I would suggest you to go and describe this image. Okay. So second part is describing image and third part is your prediction. So you can club it. Okay, so your description and your guess. Okay, I'll wait for a minute or so. Those who have mentioned their introductory, it is well. Okay, so well tried, guys. Okay, let's check out. So he is standing, type 1 introduction. He is standing in front of the interactive screen and gesturing politely. Okay. Now this is an image of a modern classroom. The teacher is standing in front of the students who sat in row. Okay. Now be descriptive. So let's talk about the description. The students are listening carefully to what the teacher is saying. There is an interactive screen to the left of the teacher and a whiteboard directly behind him. So if you see here, there is a whiteboard here and there is a big screen here. Okay, so this is what your observation is. So we have described it. Now we are doing the guesswork here. We are predicting what is this class is about, or probably what the teacher is explaining about. Now, so type one option, he must be an effective teacher as the young students are focusing well on the lesson. So everybody is quite observing, noticing, listening to him carefully. There is a large interactive screen behind the teacher that is likely being used for an educational games here. So here, if you can see the title here, game over. So maybe he's giving some information about the educational game, etc. Now we are our final answer. So you can put it in both ways. This is a photo of a teacher teaching a class of young school students. The students are listening carefully to what the teacher is saying. He must be an effective teacher as the students are focusing well on the lesson, or probably just because of the session or the lecture or the class is about the game. So that's where the students are concentrating on more because it is their interest, right? So everybody loves to play game. So this is an image of a modern classroom. The teacher is standing in front of the students who sat in rows. There is a large interactive screen behind the teacher that is likely being used for an educational game. So this is maybe the games related topic. So that's why the students are focusing and concentrating. Okay, so here we are done with our two types of questions. So one is your conversation, how to converse, summarize your conversation, and describing image. So I hand over it to my colleague. Okay, and if you have any queries, any doubt, please put it in chat box.